Hey, we have viewers. Very good. Hello, I'm Mike Shea. I run the website Sly Flourish, and this is the DM's Deep Dive. And right off the bat, I clicked off my notes accidentally, but I found them again. I'm here with Will Jones. Will Jones is the creator of the Encounter Roleplay channel on Twitch. Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Will. I run Encounter Roleplay. We stream D&D, other tabletop role-playing games 6 days a week, and for about a year, been doing this all the time for the jobs, all of the jobs. Yeah, it's been fun. So just lucky to hang out here. Been looking forward to this one. We chatted on Sunday on my channel. So I've been I had round 1. I didn't get enough. Now it's time for round 2.
You can have as much Mike Shea as you want, my friend. Like,
wow.
Yeah, whenever I am. As my mom told me, I sure don't mind hearing myself talk on the internet. She might be watching. Hi, Mom. She was watching when I was on her show. Yeah, that's great. So I actually, this is one of those crazy, so I actually met my wife on the internet, right? So I'm all very high tech. And not only did I meet you through the internet, I met you through a large scale data analysis of Twitter. Right, that's when I became aware, and it was because I was looking at all of the neighborhoods of people talking about D&D, and there was this huge neighborhood off to the side. I'm like, who is that? There's the Dungeons Donald one, of course, but then there's this huge Encounter Roleplay one. I'm like, what is going on over there? And then I clued into your show, and then you had me on as one of the guests on your as one of the guests in your games, and and that's where I found out that you basically played D&D full time. I think
right.
In that game you were running like a marathon game, right? How long did that go?
Yeah, I think that was probably a 24-hour stream. I did. I've done 16 of those.
24-hour streams of D&D.
All D&D. Yeah.
So that's incredible. The rest of us amateurs here play for 3 or 4 hours and we're exhausted. So just the idea that anybody can play D&D for that long and can continue to play D&D for 40 hours 40 hours a week is exactly why I wanted to talk to you, because you said you've been doing that a year, and not to be ageist, you said you're about 20 years old, right? 21?
Yeah. About to turn 21 in just under a month's time. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've been playing D&D for 10 of those years. Yeah.
I think I started when I was 10, maybe 11. So coming up to a good 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, that's so there's a lot of us, I'm sure I'd throw myself at the grognards, but I'll go ahead and throw myself in the grognard crew. We're like, well, I've been playing since 1978. I know everything there is to know about D&D, but I'm pretty sure you've played more hours of D&D, in that time than a lot of people.
It might be. Yeah, I think.
How many hours would you say of D&D you've actually played?
I don't know. If I look at my channel, I've got a command which tells me how long I've been streaming for, which is 2,500 hours.
2,500 hours.
And then my Roll20 account is something around the 3,000, 4,000 hour mark at the moment. So that's just online games.
And 6,000 more and you'll be an expert.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's the expert at D&D. So what are the sequence of events? There's a lot of people so one of the interesting things is there's lots of people trying to make it in the D&D industry, right. And whatever path they happen to be taking. And for somebody that's actually able to do this full time, there's a lot of people that just can't even comprehend that. I love to, I've been talking about you at people at work and everything like that because I'm so impressed. And they're like, the very first question is, what the hell is Twitch? Right?
Yeah, right.
What? I don't even know what that is. But then to be like, how does that even work? So what was the sequence of events that took you to running D&D full time on Twitch?
So I started the channel, and I just wanted it to be a fun place for me and my friends.
Is that a Las Vegas T-shirt?
It is, yeah. I'm wearing it in honor of my girlfriend's dad, who's participating in this 50 grand poker tournament tonight. So I'm wearing it. Shout out to you, Greg. Good luck, man.
There's gamers everywhere.
Yeah. But I started a channel 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago to the day, and just as a place for us to hang out. We had a fun group of players I wanted to kind of show off, and being the egomaniac that I am, I require love and attention from anonymous people on the internet. So I thought, what better place than Twitch? Mm-hmm. Yeah, just spiraled out of control from there, really. I ended up quitting school and doing this for a job because I enjoy it so much, and Yeah, but basically, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or the DMs guild where people try and make D&D their job, D&D their thing. I think for me it was just a grind. The theory is, if I do this thing more than anyone else could possibly bother doing this thing, then then hopefully there'll be some success, right?
Right.
It's a slippery slope. I didn't ever think I'd be doing this 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, plus podcasts, plus website management, and everything else. But it's very kind of like, I'll do one day, maybe I'll do 2 shows, maybe I'll do 3 shows, maybe I'll do another day. Yeah. So, it's just such a fun place to be in now as well. It's kind of like you get so used to hanging out with people, like they're hanging out with the community as well. And there is an added element of, I do quite like to eat and pay rent. So, I turn up every day.
I don't even know. How do you monetize the channel? How does that even happen? How does that work?
Yeah, primary monetization first and foremost came from donations when I started it. And I implemented a system where people could affect the game via donations, right? So you give $1 and someone gets an inspiration or a heal or something like that.
I do that at my home game.
Right.
So that works really well. You want like $15 for a Vorpal sword. I'm pretty cheap.
I'd do it. Yeah. It's like a D&D strip club. That sounds fantastic.
They get what they actually want.
They just come and pop $20 in your show or whatever.
All right, take a
ladies. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man.
1 to fireballs. It's only 5.
Yeah. The better tips they give, the better game they get. I like it. Yeah. No, this could work. But no, donations were the first that kind of ended up kind of kickstarting the project, I suppose. I was like, $50 for a green screener sitting behind me. It started off with stuff like that, better audio equipment and whatnot. And then I found out I was making way too much money for what I was doing for that. And I was like, well, this is enough to start paying my rent. I was getting sponsors who wanted to get involved in the channel. A Patreon thing started up, and but basically it all comes from a very giving community in the EncounterRP kind of network or family. I think really, I think part of it goes to the fact the demographic of people who play tabletop role playing games are the kind of folks who might have a bit of spare income to spend on things that they like. I spend a lot of money on books which aren't like necessary. So look at it a bit like if you pay a Netflix fee, some people, it's not necessary, but some people like doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it feels a lot more, a lot better than just handing money over to Netflix. It's like I actually see where it's going, right? Like
you can see, this actually affects the quality of the artwork on my channel, or actually for some people, like you have like personal relationships with, it's like have a beer on me, or pay rent this month, Will. Keep doing this. Thanks, man. So
right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I noticed that the channel has expanded a bit too, right? Like you're not the only host of the shows now. You're starting to have other people that host stuff. I looked right before here and saw a fella playing Skyrim, for example.
Right. Yeah. So that's me actually hosting a friend of mine. In terms of the actual channel, I'm on 100% of the shows. I'm a madman, and we only play D&D or other tabletop games.
Right.
But yeah, I try and network with other friends in the community, because one thing I found with Twitch is it's just this place where you have to incestually know people. And it's very incestuous. This guy that I'm hosting right now is friends of 3 of the other guys that I stream with and play D&D with. And for someone like if you're a creator, you're thinking, right, this guy's got a viewership. Can I get him to come play D&D with me? How do I do that? Network with other friends, and make your friends tell me that I'm cool, that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, currently the channel, and I think it is, people have asked me, do you ever want to play Neverwinter Nights or Baldur's Gate or something on a channel? I'm like, yeah, I do, but I just want a channel to be just D&D, It seems to be going well so far.
Sure. Yeah.
So currently the only host doing stuff. But yeah, looking into, more networking stuff, especially on podcasts, we're looking to open up that area of stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because I think the Don't Split the Podcast Network, which is the host of the DM's Deep Dive, they started as a podcast group, right? And you know, some of the only other stuff other than writing that we did was started with podcasts, and then we're like, you know, let's dip our toe into this the Twitch side of things. So it's kind of interesting that it all sort of cycles around, and you know, hitting a lot of different people if you can do it a lot of different ways. There's folks like me who spend a lot of time in a car, you know, stuck in traffic, and I get arrested if I'm watching Twitch. So you know, it's easier to listen to a podcast of it. But it's also you also mentioned the community, and I imagine that's a big part of it, that you don't, you know, there's the D&D, you know, we'll talk a lot about the D&D community, which is kind of this huge, you know, this huge group, and we don't really know everybody that's there. But then you actually have your own community, right? You have a group of people that know all of the inside jokes and you know, watch regularly, and that's really seems like that's a really strong bond for the channel. Yeah,
and I think it forms when people end up watching the show for so long. It's like watching and not to toot my own trumpet, but if I watch my favorite show and I feel very invested in the cast members, the actors, or the characters that they're playing, and then it's almost like getting the chance to talk to the cast, right? So like if I'm watching House of Cards and I can actually talk to the cast of them and, you know, interact whilst they're doing the show. So it's a bit like being on set. So I think that community, you know, and if you spend hundreds of hours doing something, you're basically Stockholmed into liking it, and that's my plan. That's force people to watch and then they join it. But yeah, no, they're very fantastic people. More and more people getting involved. We've got, you know, a permanent cast that are fantastic. You know, multiple dungeon mistresses that join us. So yeah, it's been
Dungeon Master's not gender neutral.
I don't know. Is it? Yeah, I always get that thing. You know.
I don't know. Yeah, interesting. So you say you primarily play D&D, but you've also been playing some other games. What are some of the other games you've been playing online recently?
Yeah, we've been playing lots of Numenera recently, which has been fantastic. I know we talked about that the other day on Sunday. Yeah, no, I love me some Numenera. But Call of Cthulhu is the main other one, Avalon Open Legend, that we've been playing. In fact, I was playing it earlier today, and having an absolute blast. You know, it keeps me saying not to play D&D sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm like, maybe I play too much D&D, and then I go play a different game just to keep myself
sort of like a little bit of cross training, or break out of the.
It feels
break
like
out of the stereotypes a little bit.
Yeah. You know, it's like my cheat day. You know, don't look, D&D. I still love you.
That's awesome. So how do you know, one of the questions, and I think I remember. So I'm you know, I never know if my memory is being selective or if I'm making stuff up. But I seem to recall that you know, a long time ago we were talking about the adventure books that Wizards comes out with.
Yes.
And frequency that they come out with. And you made a statement along the lines of, you know, I'd sure like if they came out with more of those books, because I burned through them in about a week.
Yeah, they're done pretty quick.
So many of us are like, you know, I've got like 3 half-finished adventures sitting up there that I've never gotten back to. How do you find enough material to run as much D&D as you're running? What's kind of the secret to finding enough stuff?
I think the only, you know, and this is a question that I've asked other creative people I've had on the channel. You know, I remember asking Ed Greenwood, how do you keep writing? You know, how do you stay creative? How do you, you know, what is the impetus behind doing that? And he gave me the answer, something along the lines of surround yourself with creative people, and that's what he does, and then they will continue to encourage you and make you go to new lengths and stuff like that. So I found that being just around diverse casts, different dungeon masters or dungeon mistresses, playing different games, it is the only way to kind of keep myself going, because Twitch is so momentum based that when you stop, it's so difficult to start again. So also the thing about, you know, paying rent every night is good, nice, but also, you know, exploring different genres. So I recently started a podcast called Adventurers Anonymous, and that's really grim dark, you know, low fantasy setting, and I play a lot of high fantasy, which is, you know, lends itself quite well to, you know, aspects of comedy, or, you know, not so, you know, this is serious, you know, we're playing a game. But I found that had been like such a, you know, a relief for my my mind to go to a different place and explore different genres. So yeah, I'm basically just trying different things and continuing to try and find situations that I find uncomfortable, and then go do the thing which I'm uncomfortable with and then try and learn from it. So, I wasn't particularly comfortable with doing super serious, grimdark roleplay. I was like, I'm going to go do that and see how it works. And I really found that I like it. And, also at the end of the day, you can always just, grab a module from the DM's Guild or play through something again. I try and do new things every time. Also, I don't DM every time, which is nice. I get other DMs to do the work for me, so that feels like cheating as well. It's like you do today, I'll play. And,
right, I'll just lay my head on the desk for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. Playing has been so nice. I used to DM all of the time. Every show, I'd be like, I have to DM this because I am Encounter Roleplay. But I was like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna DM, 3 or 4 times a week, and the rest you guys can do. All right, and that's been fantastic for me.
Only 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, right. Easy.
Is there a particular source? So you mentioned DM's Guild. You mentioned some of the other published adventures. You mentioned kind of the critical mass of surrounding yourself with really creative folks. Is there kind of a particular or specific source that you have found that has been a really great sort of lane for you to draw material and that you can use to run games?
I wish there was
a particular author on DM's Guild or anything like that where you're like, wow, that really kind of hit the mark.
I found not necessarily like an online tool where I like download stuff like the DM's Guild, which I use, from time to time. I'll download stuff from the DM's Guild. I found just reading of different fiction has been the thing which kind of gets me going. I do like using modules, but I find it difficult sometimes to keep to the module. I always go off and do my own thing, and that's when I find a need to like be inspired by something which I've read or watched or something like that. So I found when it's so much stuff that you have to do, so much content which you need to end up creating, it's I ended up reading a lot of Lovecraft, and that's how I got into Call of Cthulhu. But having gone from reading lots of R.A. Salvatore, Ed Greenwood novels, a lot of high fantasy novels, I found like, oh great, I can do horror in D&D now because I've read all of these different bits about terrible creatures of tentacles in Lovecraft's fiction.
Yeah, monsters so terrible even the author can't describe them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was actually a review. It was a critique of Lovecraft when he was writing. When the readers were like, "Are you kidding? He's getting chased by something that even the author can't describe."
Yeah. No, other than that though, DM's Guild is good. Drive for RPG, I download a ton of stuff every couple of weeks. I'll just go through and binge buy stuff on DM's Guild. And basically the Wizards, the WotC stuff I end up playing through quite a bit, and there's some bits.
Which was your favorite to run?
Curse of Strahd. Yeah, Curse of Strahd was my favorite to run. Yeah. Ravenloft, man. It's just too good.
Somebody on Twitter today asked, or maybe it was yesterday, said, what campaign adventure do you like the best? I was like, Curse of Strahd. It didn't take me any energy now. Like even beyond, the story, it's found it to be really well put together. What's your second favorite? I'll go a little, since that one's such a clear.
Ooh, yeah, I think it's, maybe Out of the Abyss, Out of the Abyss, because it's such a weird, different world, and I quite enjoyed exploring that different. It's Forgotten Realms, but it's also not, and I'm almost sick to death of hearing about the Forgotten Realms now.
Really?
Not that it's bad, I don't dislike it or anything, and I think the realms themselves are fantastic. But I found the like the modules that come out and the material, which is all based in Forgotten Realms, you end up reading the same things a million fucking times. And I found Out of the Abyss, whilst it is Forgotten Realms, it's just like, but what if Forgotten Realms was really dark and also terrible and underground? And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that Forgotten Realms,
Right. Interesting. So, I guess I've always sort of been playing in the realms. And maybe after I'm done with Storm King's Thunder, I'll kind of be like, okay, I'm sort of realms out, but we'll see. I don't know. It's like, for me, it feels like feels like I can now actually run it because like, oh yeah, Daggerford, I know what that's like.
Yeah, there is an aspect of it, right? Yeah, you know what all of these places are, especially when the players know what they all are as well. So you've got that kind of collective knowledge. It's like having watched a movie and then you go play in the movie setting. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can kind of hit the nostalgia, having run both Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, and then having some of those players go back to that same area, but 5 years later, they can go like, oh yeah, I remember that bar. That was
yeah. That's it.
So, yeah. Let's see. So with as much DMing as you have to do, it would seem like improvisation is really a key to keeping things interesting. What are some of the tricks that you do to make improvisation a little bit easier?
Yeah, it's definitely a big thing. I don't really have the luxury outside of running the channel and doing all of the boring social media things that you need to do when you're running a media empire, which is far more boring than it sounds. Sending emails and stuff. I don't get that much time to prep, so improving is a big thing. I think. I don't necessarily think there's any like one thing which I've done. Like if in doubt, I'll do this. I'll go to this. It tends to be drawing from experiences I've had in the past. Something that's happened, something I've watched, something I've seen, someone else's DMs, and you can just straight up steal that. But it's also it's almost like it feels like a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to just go with it. And I think most DMs. Probably feel that same way as well. When they first started DMing, improving feels very awkward and clunky, and then a year later they feel much more comfortable doing that. And when you're put under a bit more kind of pressure to improvise, with our chat interactions and stuff like that, at first it's a bit like, oh god, what's going on? And then after a while you just tend to you go with it a bit more, and that's what I've noticed with other dungeon masters on the channel as well. Like at first they find a whole improving thing a little bit janky, a little bit clunky, and then they get more and more used to it. And I found that to be just practice basically makes perfect. And if in doubt, Tarask.
Drop into Tarask. I've done that. I usually keep an Orcus miniature around just to keep everyone in line.
Just in case, yeah.
You can make fun of if I say too many times, I'm dropping Orcus on the table. You don't want that to happen. So, it's interesting.
That's it, yeah.
What tricks do you have for kind of keeping the game, so particularly keeping the game fresh for you? You said that cycling out of the DM chair has helped you, right? That sort of rotating around there has been a good method. Are there other considering that this is your job, right? Consider that this is something that you do, you really full time. How do you keep yourself energized to keep doing it? And how do you keep things fresh for both you and the players that are playing?
Yeah. It's a good question. Yeah, I'm still working on the exact answer on how to, keep myself going every day. But
you saw it 2 days ago, so it shouldn't be that.
Yeah, I think it's just it's so easy to get sucked into the whole thing. It's so easy to just do Twitch, just do internet, and be unable to step away. I'm followed by the internet everywhere I go. My phone, my laptop. When I go into the other rooms, it's just almost impossible to disconnect. And so I found, just setting hours for me to disconnect from streaming, to disconnect from whatever, and just go to do real life things with my girlfriend. Whether that's hitting a guitar. I don't know. I've heard about this thing.
What does that even mean? I don't know. What
I made it up.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
it's Numenera. You've been playing too much Numenera.
Yeah. No, whether that's hitting a guitar for a couple of minutes or just listening to music or, just doing something else, that's how I keep it going. And then, and now is work time, and then I work. But in terms of the game, playing different games is really, really important to me. Playing with different people is really important as well. If I played 6 days a week with the same group of people in the same game, we'd all have enough of each other and just be straight done, So, I think we have a working cast of about 25 to 30 cast members on the show. So getting to meet new people is a big thing for me, and I also I have a viewer game where people can just jump in and play that are in the chat, if you're around and then come play a game, and let's talk and let's play games together. And that's really nice because you actually get to see the people that watch the show. You get to see them play, and it gives it a bit more meaning, I think, really, because if you're staring at a screen, you know, just playing D&D every day, it can be a bit soulless, you know, and just typing to people, or, you know, talking to someone that can't actually talk back to you other than in a text-based form. I find that quite cathartic to be like, you know, you're the reason why I'm streaming every day, you know, because you get something out of this, you know.
So when you have that sort of chat, the you know, the chat channel people play, they drop in as a video. You drop them in a audio video setting, or you
so they join in. Yeah, they join in like the Skype call.
Just like any of the other guests.
Yeah, and they just come play, you know.
Very cool.
I have once run a show, and I've yet to perfect it, where I DM for chat, Twitch chat, right? Which is about as difficult and as chaotic as you'd imagine it would be.
For the whole chat channel, like 42
whole channel,
people.
You know. Yeah. We had the first time I did it, there were 125 people that I was dungeon mastering for.
You had 125 players,
and I was like, holy crap! You know,
that is awesome. I've never. I mean, you are at least an order of magnitude more than the next highest number of players I've ever heard of.
There you go.
Like 125 people. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I was thinking of trying to break the. I don't know what the world record is.
How did you make everyone feel special? How did you?
I don't know that I did. You know, I felt like I was cheating on a lot of them. Emotionally.
No, 7, 8, 16, 42, and 92. You're dead.
Yeah. I did like one of those chat shows. Yeah, you pull out a number and you were a lucky winner. Yeah,
right.
But no, it was quite good fun. It was absolutely chaotic, and after a couple of times doing it, I convinced myself like it was a terrible idea. Yeah, in the long run.
Awesome.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did wonder whilst I was doing that what the world record is for the most players.
Yeah.
In a game, I thought, you know, maybe I should go for some kind of world record and just, you know, just hold some kind of title, you know, for no reason whatsoever other than saying I've done that, you know.
Yeah. At one time, I think they have a game at Gen Con called the Tower of Gygax, and it's first edition D&D, I think, or you know, the you know, white box version of D&D. And it's drop in, drop out. Like you go and you sit in, and they give you a character sheet, and and you're like waiting in line, but there's like, I think there was like 12 players.
Wow.
And you basically just got like one action that you could take, and you were almost guaranteed to die within 3 turns of whatever you were doing. And like this, you know, you can almost imagine this like mob of people that are all trying to get through this dungeon. Yeah. But the people that are getting through room to room are constantly rotating in and out. And they were also running for like 20 hours, so the DMs were really wired.
Oh my God.
So that is as close as I can think of, and that was the most like players I ever saw, but that wasn't 125 people in one DM.
I also considered at one point going for the longest stream or longest game, and reports were that, you know, from Reddit searches and what people told me, it was about 100 hours consecutive.
You're kidding. Not for a single DM?
Yeah, for a single DM, about 100 hours. Someone told me.
I thought you hit like 92 hours and you fall over dead.
Yeah, I was pretty sure you do that as well.
Yeah, that sounds like.
But you know, there was like, I don't know if it's like.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like folktale legend. You know, there's this legend of these 4 guys that went to a pub and they ended up playing there for 103 hours or something like that. You know, back in 1983, sort of thing. And
sure, yeah.
So I don't know. I figured I'd go
before I trust that.
Yeah. I figured I'd go for at least 72 at some point, you know, and really try and bring it home for you know, I don't know, like a charity stream or something like that. Right. But yeah, I've not been crazy enough to do it yet.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm no doctor, but I don't know that I'd recommend 100 hours of D&D. You know, we love you, Will. Don't do that to yourself.
Don't die.
No, don't die, Will. The world needs you. So for those that are considering streaming their games, you know, I think I told you this on my the time I was on your show, where like I'll ask players in my group, like, you ever think about streaming? And they're like, fuck no. Like, I'm not doing that. So but I'm sure, and particularly because it's a lot more popular, people are seeing a lot of people doing this. So for those, unlike me, who have the guts to run their game online, what are some of the tips you have for people just getting started doing something like that?
God, don't do it. No. Yours is a slippery slope. Make sure you reach out to people. The community on Twitch is particularly friendly. I was, in fact, I get a couple of emails, every couple of weeks from people who are starting up channels. They want some advice. How do I do the thing with the cameras? Or, how do I have success? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm always happy to help people. And I found that to be the same when I was at smaller channel, going to all those other people, how do I do this thing? People have always helped me out. So, there's a weird thing with Twitch where it's like a super ego crazy zone of alpha males who can't talk to each other because they're bros. We don't talk about stuff,
which I hate. Get that sweet ass green background because I got the washer dryer behind me and it's just not cutting. Five shows in, I should probably put a poster back there or something.
Yeah. So make sure you reach out to people. It's all about platform, So if you're on Twitch is all about being interactive. Talking to people that are in the chat room, engaging them. That's the only way people stay around, especially when you're a small channel. Because that's what one of the huge benefits of being a small channel is that there are less people to interact with for the streamer, which sounds like a bad thing, right? Because you want more numbers and whatnot. But the people that are involved, you can give all your attention to. So right. If I'm streaming now, then I have to split my attention between 100 people. Whereas when I started, it was 10, and I can give them more interaction, more engagement, and then they become your sort of core fans to begin with. Your core audience, because they can chat to you and they know you. And so it's really important to actually on Twitch to do what Twitch is meant to do, which is to interact with streamers. If I go to any kind of video game live stream or anything which is under like 100 or a couple of hundred viewers, I expect to be able to actually talk to the person. I expect to be, hey Will, how's it going? And for that person to give some form of response, maybe, whereas with a YouTube video, right? You watch the YouTube video and you watch the content. And that's all you need. Maybe you leave a comment, and that's how you can engage with that person if you really want to. But Twitch is all about doing that. So make sure that even though you're playing D&D, and it's tough to multitask and be in a chat room and DM and stream and do all these other things, but it's quite important to do that if you want to take it seriously. If someone is looking to do this for a job or something, that's the only way that I've found to do it is just to go hard in on that.
That's why I have Rudy Basso.
Exactly.
Rudy Basso's my guardian angel who watches the chat channel for me. We're actually going to interact with our audience because I'm terrible at multitasking. And right. I'd ask you a question and then I'd be like staring at the chat channel. No idea what is.
Well, there are folks who do that. But it's quite funny. I quite enjoy that. The other thing as well, just keep the game simple. It don't have to be these, fantastic pieces of melodrama every single episode, as long as everyone's having a good time. The thing I found most important with streaming D&D is to make sure you have, at the very least, the appearance of that everyone is having fun.
How do you fake that?
Well, I'm not sure really. There are some times, right, where I'm on like a 24-hour
stream. Camera 6, that person's asleep.
Get him out, yeah. You press like the death button. No, but at the very least, the cast need to be engaged with what you're doing, right? So, for instance, with like your group, we say, "Do you want to stream our games online?" They're like, "Fuck no," but you streamed it anyway. They'd be a terrible cast because they don't give a shit that you're doing anything on Twitch, right? Yeah, they could be fantastic, players, I'm sure they are, voice actors and whatnot, but, if they don't give a shit about what you're doing in your creative project, you really need that core team of people that are supporting you every day.
Everyone has to want to be there, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's,
not dragging anyone online that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
if you do it,
you're going to get here and you're going to play D&D, and you're going to like it, yeah. It's make sure, because I see a lot of casts start up with, you can tell that the guy who's running the channel wants to be doing it, but there are several other people who don't have webcams on or feel really bad microphones. They're not really bothered about it, which is fair enough. You don't have to give a shit, but if someone is going to take this seriously, then you have to be strict with your cast, and that's something I've really struggled with in the past. I'm a bad a bad boss in that respect. I've let people just kind of go slack and hang out, and it's like, if you really want to run a professional channel, then you have to have professional people doing it, and they don't actually have to be full-time D&D players, but people who are passionate about engaging with your community and hanging out in the space that you have chosen to hang out with. It's not we're going to play D&D, and we're online. It's we're streaming D&D online, and we also get to hang out as people.
Right. So it's sort of an entirely separate enterprise from.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not tagging it on.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is the way that some folks will do it. And that's fine if you're just casually streaming your game in your your living room chair or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you're looking to do it as a job, and the other thing, ABC, always be casting on Twitch. Never stop streaming. Mm-hmm. It's just a war of attrition.
Never let the party end.
Exactly. Never let the fun stop. Hook yourself up to an IV. Just go for it and get some caffeine. But it's the thing with Twitch. With a YouTube video. When it goes up, then it goes to its people who subscribed in the subscription feed, but it's there forever on YouTube. So if I search D&D Encounter Roleplay, they will find all of my streams that I've ever done, and that's a great way for people to find it on that platform. But with Twitch, you've got a certain amount of, you've got a narrow window of time which you are alive on the internet, and the rest of the time you're dead, because no one goes to channels that are offline on Twitch. Mm-hmm. So if you're streaming 6 hours a week, you are guaranteed about 50% more success than if you stream 3 hours a week. It's very simple in that respect. And it's great in the respect that, well, if I have the time to do this, and I could just work, and then it's a quicker success rate. But it also sucks in the sense that if you don't have that time, then it's not a good platform. Mm-hmm. It's very slow to gain traction when you stream less as a D&D channel, or any channel really. A friend of mine, he streams 7 days a week, 10 hours a day.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and one of those days is on my channel, so he gets a break.
What does he do?
He streams video games, and all sorts. I think at the moment he's playing Path of Exile and Diablo and games like that. Yeah. So yeah, he goes hardcore into it, and it shows in the numbers. He is having a faster success rate than like my channel, for instance, because I stream for 6 hours a day, and if I did stream for 10 hours a day, then and vice versa, I feel like I need some actual time not to play D&D. But if you do go hard on these things, there's absolute credible rewards for doing them. If you have a quality product in your stream and your YouTube videos or whatever, then you're almost guaranteed success. It's not necessarily a matter of if, it's almost a matter of when. How long will it take for me to be at a place where I could do this? Obviously, there's a million things that go into it. But that's the basic premise of Twitch. Just always be online, because if I go into the D&D category now, then I don't see Encounter Roleplay because I'm not live. I can't click on it and be like, oh, who's this weird guy? So it's simple in that respect, but it also can suck if you find yourself without time, or if you don't really want to dedicate 10, 20, 30 hours a week for your life to the thing, then YouTube is a fantastic way to go. That would be my advice. Pick the platform that suits best your schedule. And that might even be podcasts. Podcasts are fantastic for that, because you can record a month in advance and then release an episode. Yep.
So getting that whole community aspect, why don't we go to our guardian angel, Rudy? Are you out there? And do you have questions from people?
Rudy.
Yeah, Mike, it's me, Alex Basso.
Alex, I'm sorry, I got you and your brother mixed up.
Sorry, it's no problem.
I'm a terrible person.
It's been happening for 30 years, so no
I'm sorry.
But yeah, we've had some questions. I have some on Twitter and in chat. Thank you for everyone who asked. So let's start. Here's one from Johnny Utah 99, and he wants to ask Will, have you ever considered creating your own setting for your games to play in? Yeah,
it's a good question. I've never considered releasing something onto the DM's Guild or kickstarting it or something like that. In fact, me and Sly spoke about that on Sunday. Campaign settings. I have done it. I've written several settings that we play our games in. Most of my games that I do play end up being in a homebrew world of one sort or another. The podcast that I'm running at the moment is all in my homebrew world and stuff like that. My website EncounterRoleplay.com has got different information about my notes that I make. I try and every couple of months remember that I make notes and try and put them onto the internet for people. Mm-hmm. But nothing which is, in a published format. But who knows? I'm very much interested in creating Twitch streams and YouTube videos and podcasts at the moment, and I find myself without really enough time to write as much as I'd like to. So I think it's my main focus at the moment. But I feel like I've been doing this for a year, and I can continue to keep trying different things and doing new stuff. We're actually bringing a module to Kickstarter in summer, so cool. It's possible, but not currently on the cards to publish anything.
Have you found that there are aspects? I'm gonna hijack that question a little bit. Have you found? By the way, I'd like to say that the number of people that are in the chat, went up by 50% the minute we said we were taking questions from people in chat. So you're right. There's data to back up your statement.
It's math. Let's make it graph.
Have you found? So we've had previous guests on the show who talked about sort of how to build a campaign world that supports their kind of game. Are there aspects of in building out your own campaign world and building out the world that you run on? Are there aspects to it that have been really useful for the kind of games you run? And are there aspects that you go, I spend a whole lot of time on this and it really never comes up?
Yeah, and this is as much about the campaigns that I run as the the streams that I run. I think it's more so me. I wrote at the beginning of starting to stream about 2 years ago. I wrote this campaign setting, and I was like, "This is going to be the Encounter Roleplay setting." And I wrote this whole, huge sprawling map mess. Everything that I needed for every faction, every location, every town. I was like, I will use all of this, and I ended up using about 5% of it. And so I've reduced the formula down to I write what I need for the first couple of sessions and to get a feel of the world for the players, and then I'll write as I go for the campaign and for the world. So as I'm writing the campaign, I'm writing the world and expanding the world. I've already got a lot of the structures that are in place there, but I'll add in a little thing about this extra town that's over there that I've thought about, or this extra continent that I've decided to create. So yeah, I think it's just trying not to do big bodies of work you just kind of thrust at players never seem to get used. But if I know that they are about to travel off to a different continent, I'll be like, oh, I'll end up writing that continent now, shall I? Or fleshing out that area a bit more. So I try not to write too much because I don't use it, and then I'm sad when I've made a thing that never gets seen.
I don't think you're alone in that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We had Enrique Bertrand, the newbie DM, was on, and he had one of my favorite all-time statements. I wrote a whole article just about the statement he made, which is no one gives a shit about your giant, cyclopean Lord of the Rings campaign. They care about the town they're in and what's going on in that town.
Exactly.
Just I'm paraphrasing, but
I remember an article on my website Mitch must have written about well over a year ago, and he said something, to be inflammatory, purposefully, and he said, "No one wants to read your shitty unwritten fantasy novel." It's well, yes.
I have a shitty written fantasy novel, and no one wants to read it. So yeah, but yeah, and it's also kind of heartbreaking. I actually haven't, an article sitting on my laptop here. That is basically talks about that very topic, and I can't get myself to hit the submit button because I feel like I'm crushing people's dreams.
Right.
I feel like who am I to tell them not to write their big sprawling campaign world? But you're going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
99% chance you're going to be. You could be the one, right? You could be the one that writes the awesome one that everyone loves. But there's probably 99% chance that you're going to write something that you're going to be pissed off that no one cares about. So
you're supposed to be the chosen one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You were supposed to be the chosen one. You're, sorry. Have a cookie. You'll feel better.
Yeah.
Alex, what else you got?
All right. Next question comes from Twitter from @AlphaStream. Do you see?
We don't take any. No, we don't take any questions from Alpha Stream. Not that guy. It's going to be about what are those flumps? I don't want to talk about flumps.
Not this time.
No, I can't. I love Teos Abadia as Alpha Stream. He's been on this show.
So he asks, do you see RPG design changing in the future to facilitate online play's pace and structure?
Yes, and it's already beginning. It's already happening. Successful RPGs are more and more the ones that I find to be quite streamlined, rules light, and easy to pick up and play. And that's exactly how online play tends to work. And the exact way which online play tends to work as well is, without grids a lot of the time. A lot of it is theatre of the mind, especially when you're doing so many shows. It's just impossible to create the amount of maps which the game would require if you were playing with maps, right? So yeah, I find the games that are very easy to create and to play, just pick up and play, immediately the ones that have seen quite a lot of success on online platforms. Also there'll be I foresee more and more games that encourage an audience participant in a game, or optional rules for that at the very least. And there was one that came out recently which escapes me now, which was a mutant game which involved an audience member to play as well, several audience members that could vote on things to happen in the game. And I think that'll be more and more successful. With that, if you could somehow power that to thousands of people every day, then game creators aren't idiots. They want to make sales the exact same way that video game creators want to make sales. It's the exact same space. It's Twitch, it's YouTube. Why do creators or game designers allow people to play their games on Twitch when it's legally theirs, or play their game on YouTube when it's like legally they own the copyright and allow them to monetize it? It's because these people bring thousands of eyes to their game, and if there's a way to give top tier streamers, top tier YouTubers a game which will involve their audience, which is exactly what the designers want, because that equals sales. So absolutely, I think that will happen. If I can, if I was a game designer making a game, I'm thinking, well, there are these millions of people on the internet that I could access, other than just having another RPG game, which is just like the others. What can I do differently? Well, how do I harness this audience? Well, I get them involved in the game as well, and that's going to be fantastic. Imagine like the audience of Critical Role all involved in the game. They're going to immediately go and buy that, or at least be interested, be aware of it. And the more engagement with things, the more it's in someone's mind, the more someone's likely to go and purchase something. And I think that's the way to. If you're a game designer out there and you've got a clever idea for audience participation in your RPG, get in touch with me, because that's exactly the kind of thing that creators want as well. Because, as someone who creates, I'm like, I can play this D&D game and I can show it to people and I can talk to them, but I want more and more ways to engage. I want more and more ways to interact with people, because it's not only good for the designer, it's fantastic for me as well. If someone is really invested in the game, then they're going to come back next week, or they might, pledge money towards it, support the channel, then go buy the game, absolutely. And I would be, we talked about this thing, like about experts the other week, about how experts have no fucking clue.
Hey,
I would be surprised.
I kept telling people, I'm like, he asked me expert opinion. I started briefing on Tetlock and political presumptions.
It's I would be surprised if we didn't see more and more games come out with ways to interact with online audiences, the way that we've seen video games have ways to interact with more and more audiences. I think there's a similar parallel to be drawn with like where video games were 5 years ago when they started on Twitch and YouTube and that kind of community, and where D&D has started a couple of years ago, and where that will be in a few years' time.
Even if you look at a game like Dark Souls,
right?
They're like, we don't want it to be a full MMO multiplayer kind of game, but we want people to be able to interact with other people. So even just having like little clues on the ground and little ghosts that kind of show you when they get killed, is a way to sort of, you're not, even though you're alone in this dark, terrible world, you're not. There's little hints of people there. Yeah, there's two kind of, well, two things kind of came to mind where you're talking about this, and one was that Jerry Holcomb, who runs on Penny Arcade, and he runs I've seen a couple episodes of it, a big game, and they have a fair bit of audience participation, that the audience is able to sort of throw in things and modify the game. It's still traditional D&D, but they sort of have like a little subset of rules, I think, for how to
that's
I don't know how that worked out.
That's and I did the same on my channel with D&D, but it feels like with D&D you can do lots of things, but if a game was if a game was created purely to do that, it would be like
interesting.
You could do even more,
Well, when you get to that, like I want to DM for 150 people at the same time.
Exactly.
What's a good RPG for that?
Exactly. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, the other one is, and I don't know if it's going to have anything particular to streaming, but Green Ronin is doing a campaign setting based on Matt Mercer's world that he runs in his game.
Yeah.
James Hake was on the D&D podcast recently talking about it, and I imagine that's going to be a pretty traditional game world, that there isn't like a subset of mechanics for how to, or a superset of mechanics for how to run online. But that kind of came to mind too. It's an opportunity that I don't, maybe people haven't really hit into yet. You mentioned Theater of the Mind. I'm hijacking another question. You were, I think, so I interviewed a whole bunch of different DMs and people who have really thought deep about D&D, and you were one of them. And I think you were the only one where just like you right off the bat said, "Yeah, I do Theater of the Mind. I couldn't do it any other way." Mm-hmm. Have you ever met resistance to that with players that are playing in your game? Do they kind of get it? Is there limitations that you find running Theater of the Mind like that?
Yeah. Not so much players, more like audience members who like need visuals or desire more visuals and stuff like that occasionally. Players that come on the show, some might struggle a bit more with it, but they tend to know that it's a bit of a necessity for me as a person, because I just don't have the time in my life to be able to map or, even buy maps and then import them and put all the tokens, stuff like that. It can be quite an arduous process. So usually people are quite understanding, Some DMs will do it differently. If they're DMing on the show, then they'll end up mapping lots of stuff, and that's their prerogative. They can do that. So I kind of leave it up to them. If you want to map, then we can map. But when I DM, this is kind of the way that I do it. And, I like to think that I've done it enough to be at least average at doing it. To be able to convey the things that are going on that are important to the players that they understand. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the way my mind works as well. It doesn't work very well with like maths and grids and shapes and stuff like that. It's much more kind of like I see a thing in my brain and it's happening, and I'll try and tell them the thing which I'm seeing. So I remember it. I remember it very specifically when you when I was running, when you were running the game that I was in for one of your marathons, and how seamlessly the game went through from story into battles and everything else. At the time, I didn't know that you didn't use a map, and I was like, "Oh, look, he's using Theater of the Mind. This is great." And it was very smooth and felt like old school D&D. Felt like that whole. You go into a room and there's I even remember it, right? The bunch of skeletons that were lying around there and blood coming from the ceiling, and trying to figure out what's going on. So I thought that was really neat. Do you have any tips for people that maybe aren't comfortable running Theater of the Mind but are interested? Yeah, I think a lot of the time it feels like you're doing it wrong, right? I must know whether I'm 30 feet away from this guy. I must know exactly how far I can cast a spell or exactly where I am in relation to other people. It tends to be the case where, it's just a little bit, it feels like relaxing for me. And it feels like I have to work more when I'm on grids and stuff like that. Interesting. And and I really enjoy that way of doing things, where it's just I can see something and I can try and convey to what the other people see, and we're all kind of making a game together. I think there's like a difference in some people's mind, where it's like I'm now doing a role-playing scene, I'm now doing a combat scene, and those are two very different things. I tend to try and like merge the two. They're basically the same thing. They're storytelling. And I don't run combats if I'm not trying to tell some kind of story or inject some kind of action or something like that. Right. So think of it like that. Think of it, like reading a novel. How is action described in that? And that's way more interesting to me than I rolled a 17 and I hit. It's like you slash him with a greatsword. Now he's fucked up. Everyone's like, yeah, he is. It's I find it more interesting. I'm gonna charge up to that orc. Oh, sorry, you're 5 feet short. Yeah, it's like.
can't quite reach him. Sorry.
Yeah, and there's a lot more give and take in that play style. How far away am I? I don't know, about 20 feet. You know.
Yeah, whatever.
So like,
All right, what do you want to do?
Yeah, near enough. How can how do we make this happen? Especially for an audience as well. Like, where combat can really slow something down. You can spend hours on combat when it's gridded. So when it's like, let's just do it. We might get it done in 20, 30 minutes, and the audience is still there afterwards and still engaged. Because it becomes quite unengaging when I'm clicking on Roll20. 16. 15. So it's a bit more, obviously we still roll and stuff like that, but we're not measuring out tapes on the, the fucking grids and stuff like that, So yeah.
Hey Alex, what else you got?
All right, next question comes from chat from Accidental Legend, and they would like to know, what audio-visual equipment do you currently use, Will?
Good question.
That's
and please include your green screen thing. I want to know about that.
Oh God, yeah, I don't actually know. I will probably find out on Amazon what my green screen is. I'm pretty sure I googled green screen, and then I'm pretty sure I bought the first
thing on the list. Like, what is its requirement? Well, it needs to be green.
It needs to be green, and it also needs to be a screen. It's a collapsible one. You can fold it. I'll send you a link. But in terms of microphone, it's an 80-20-20 microphone, which currently does not work so well because it's actually, I bought it in America whilst I was over with my girlfriend, and I've got this really janky power adapter that I fit onto my my power socket. So it doesn't actually work as well as it could do. It doesn't sound as good as it could do because it's running through weird voltage. But 80-20-20 sounds really good. Also, I use a Blue Yeti microphone for podcasting and stuff like that, which is great standard. Yeah, it's a fantastic mic. And the Snowball is good as well, actually. I think that's all the microphones I've owned. The webcam I own is a Logitech C920, which is pretty standard. You get about $60 or so. Most streamers, it's like the basic white girl kind of webcam. It's like most of the streamers that I know were like, get this one. Everyone has it. And I was like, I want to be cool, so I got it. They're like super fancy schmancy webcams that you can get, but as long as it's 1080p or at least 720p, then you're probably good. But audio is king with Twitch and podcasting or anything. So as long as it sounds okay, I've got like a crappy little mic stand and pop filter, nothing special. I recorded yes, well, the basic white girl. I recorded with what's his name, Tom Taylorson, who's the voice actor of Male Rider in Mass Effect. Andromeda, which I confess I haven't played, but I've seen about it.
I keep waiting for all the patches to get finished. And then
yeah. Oh, I heard the news about it. Yeah, but I recorded him the other day, yesterday in fact, and his audio setup was like, how do you sound like melting butter? Like I'm so jealous.
You're in my head.
Yeah, it's like it must be hundreds of dollars on it. But yeah, no, I tend to buy a new microphone about once a year because they tend to die or degrade, I guess. So yeah, that's the equipment I use. And then I've got a computer which is stupidly expensive, which I broke earlier this year and I had to rebuild. And I got a couple of monitors around and lights either side of me to illuminate and chroma my green screen.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Alex, what else you got?
Okay, question from Sarah Lowell in chat. Why did you decide to start streaming? Did you see any other channels that inspired you?
No other channel has ever inspired me. No, I'm kidding.
I am the only channel. Only my channel inspires me.
I am the alpha and the omega. No. Yeah, I was inspired by a couple of channels. Many folks would say Critical Role. When I started, I wasn't actually aware that they were doing their thing, and then when I started watching, I was like, "Wow, this is fantastic!" But I actually started. God, I've forgotten his name because he's been out of the game for about a year and a half now. He was a Swedish or Norwegian chap who started, and I watched a couple of his shows, and I thought they were really cool. He sadly doesn't do it anymore. He's done it for a long time. I think life got the better of him, really. I think he ended up having a couple of kids. He was a really nice guy. I could probably find him on my Skype somewhere. But I went to watching this channel. I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I already knew that I wanted to do it. I'd seen like JP, I knew that it was like a thing, the Roleplay and the West Marches and stuff like that. I knew it was a thing, but this guy particularly, oh my god, I can't even name my number one inspiration. But he was a real nice guy. Real nice.
Swede or Norwegian, something like that.
Yeah, Sweden. The name will come to me like tonight, and I'll be like, "Damn it, why didn't I?"
We'll have to do another show. You can remember. Alex, what else you got?
All right, I actually have a question from me, and I just want to know, Will, do you ever have time for any offline games, or do you pretty much only stream or only play D&D online?
I play about once a year in a semi-regular offline game with old friends that we started the channel with that are no longer kind of involved in the whole deal because of work and lives and stuff like that. So yeah, about once a year I get together and play a proper, usually about 12 to 14 hours long in real life session with pizza and beers and stuff like that. It's technically not offline, but it's not on stream. But I stream a podcast. I record a podcast game. So that's kind of cheating because it's still online.
Does it feel completely boring to you? Like where's the hundreds of people at the window that are watching?
Yeah, it feels weird. It feels weird. It's like
I could say whatever I want.
I could say whatever I want, and it will get edited out. Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't like it at first. I was like, this is weird. Like I kept screwing up because I felt like I had to be more like professional because I wasn't doing it live or whatever. So I ended up kind of shooting myself in the foot there and messing up more. But no, I actually really enjoy it now. But yeah, probably about once a year at best. We're actually trying to organize a game with the same group of people doing it on Roll20, but our schedules are all so hectic that it's unlikely, I think, that we'll be able to do it anytime soon. But hopefully making it twice every year, basically, an offline game. I do really enjoy them, though.
Yeah. Alex, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we got one more from @AlphaStream.
All right.
Do you think that this is a good enough full-time job that it can be an extended career, covering health costs, mortgage, retirement, etc.?
God, I hope so. Is the short answer? Yes, I do. And that's based on the friends I have working. I'm not necessarily looking at it as being, can you do D&D and do this? Because I think it's just more about platform. Can you be a full-time Twitch streamer and have all of these benefits and everything else? And the answer is yes. You just have to be successful enough and work hard enough. And so it's a weird thing with Twitch in terms of like the physical hours that you work. You're gonna put in you're just gonna eat shit. You're gonna put in thousands of hours and not earn a single buck. And then after that, you'll end up making a lot of money per hour in proportion to that. But when you add all the time up, you're still only making, after all that time that you put in making no money, if you add it all together, you're still only making like an average salary, So I've been doing this for a year, and I'm still alive, paying rent on a house and flying around and doing stuff. So I think it's absolutely doable, and from what I've seen from other people, I talk with plenty of other streamers and stuff like that, and people in the community. It seems absolutely possible to do this. That being said, I'm fucking 20 years old, so I don't know all the costs involved in life. Would it support the 7 children that will inevitably be spawned from me via Cthulhu?
I'm not sure they're going to get spawned from you, unless you have some different way of doing it than I know about.
Well, they call me the seahorse for a reason. Yeah, so I don't know, all of these things that go into whatever you do not fucking quit your day job. I swear to God, I'll find you. Especially if you have, a family to support or whatever. Nothing happens overnight. You need to put in at least a year's worth of work in before you're going to see any kind of real financial return. And that's, after a year of doing this, that was when I could do this as a job. And I don't have all of the expenses that, a lot of people in real life have. I'm not a real life person, I'm a guy. So who knows? The plan is yes. And we'll see.
Yeah, and the world is continually changing and evolving, right? And we have to change and evolve with it. I imagine, not having done any of these sorts of things full time, I imagine that, it's got to be a little bit scary to kind of grab onto this one and hope you don't miss whatever the next thing is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, like, new things happen. That doesn't mean old things die. YouTube's been around a long time. Blogs have been around a long time. There's still, I can attest to the fact that people still come and read blogs, even though there's YouTube and Twitch and everything else. So it's not like the old stuff dies off in support of the new, I don't think.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I think, it's an exciting space to be in. It's, as, your recent Twitter analysis would suggest, is continuing to grow. And I can testify the fact that, Twitch is continuing to expand at an incredible rate, as well as the D&D community in Twitch. More and more people popping up and doing their thing. So, the advice would be to start now. And the sooner you start, the sooner you'll be where you want to be. So,
how much? So and don't take my question at all. Taking anything away from all the work that you've done. How much does luck play a factor in the success of Twitch? Like, all those other factors that you mentioned. Spending a lot of time online, engaging with your audience. Obviously being a good, strong, charismatic person to be on. How much on top of that is okay? And then then we have to roll the dice.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's any one. This will 100% guarantee that you will be successful on Twitch. You will have a job and whatever. Because I see, fantastic people who work really hard who aren't at the place that they want to be after, time invested. So I think luck has to be a factor. I think I was lucky to be in on this on, one of the first ground floors of us doing this, of Twitch being a space to create Dungeons and Dragons live streams. So that, that was lucky in a sense. Very lucky to have such a great cast. That does have a certain element of luck, having people in on the ground floor who start this with you who are fantastic. So you can cherry pick and you can work on it. So there's always going to be a luck factor. I've got friends of mine who explode overnight because a huge channel has just gone and shown everyone their work, and that's fantastic. So that does that, and I've been the same where folks will, come into my channel like, wow, I can't believe I got raided by this huge streamer. That's been a great overnight bonus. That was lucky. There's always going to be that element, but that all comes after you put in the work.
Yeah, right.
And
you can't expect the dice alone are going to get you there.
Exactly. Yeah. The I guess if it were a percentage, the percentage would go up and up and up. Like you're gonna get lucky the more you do it, right? So I did this for a long time. I was like, oh my god, I got Matthew Mercer going on my show. That was really lucky, But in reality, it would never have happened if I hadn't started streaming or if I hadn't been working hard every day. So occasionally you see these really big spikes in rewards, quote unquote rewards, or goals that you've been trying to achieve. But they don't happen overnight, even though it seems like they do. It really happened over the past year that I was doing all this stuff, and then that happened, So, luck's always a factor, though.
Sure. Yeah. So I have one last question for you, and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah.
Like I said, you young fella, but you've been playing for 10 years, so you've been playing for a good long time. But for people that have been playing for many decades, who don't play as much as you do, right? But are kind of playing the regular game. What advice do you have for kind of the old time DMs?
Hurry up and die. We will rule the world when you're gone. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. A bit. No, you.
What? We're not invading your Twitch channels. We can't even get our internet browser to work.
How do I get on this Twitch? No. The open-mindedness. The one, it's funny. It's funny you say that. The only truly negative people that I've ever encountered, or the truly negative trolls on the internet. You get little shitters that come in that are 13-year-olds and are like, dick shit, spamming the internet. The people who have actually sought me out on the internet, gone after me on different accounts, emailed me hate, left comments of absolute abuse. These. How do you have the time to do this? They've all been people who are of an older generation who feel like I'm I feel like the feeling must come from that I'm destroying what was theirs, or I'm oh, this new kid coming along and now it's different, blah blah blah. But the only people I've ever encountered who are like truly been quite horrible to me have been people of an older generation who don't like what I'm doing. Maybe that I'm younger, maybe that I'm doing things differently from how they think they should be done and stuff like that. And that was an interesting takeaway. I never thought about that would be the case. I always thought going to Twitch that it would be young kids, people from 13 to 25 who would like actually be quite hateful or like trolls on the internet and stuff like that. It was interesting to see, I was like, I've had 3 really bad, like horrible people, and all of them have been really like old guard defensive, and publicly very, it's totally the hair, and that makes sense. Publicly like anti, new wave, anti, whatever it is they think I stand for.
Is it the style of game that you're playing, or is it the whole Twitch thing in general?
It might be, it might be Twitch. It might be just the fact that, I'm younger and they feel like the game has been taken away, that kind of grognard, like only I like this game, brr, and it can't be done any other way. That was the kind of place that I felt that emotion was coming from them, and I try and understand what exactly, I've done nothing against these people, what have I done to hurt their feelings, but all of the complaints or, the things that they're hating on were of that nature, like you are playing it wrong, you are doing this wrong, this is how it is done, you don't understand, you don't have any respect for this, those sorts of comments that you're coming from, and it's like, all right, man, and so what I really, fuck off, man.
Is that your auto reply to that? All right, man.
Fuck
thanks
you.
for the feedback.
Yeah, well, when I do try and listen to people, and when people have critical feedback, it's important to listen to folks. But when it's like of such vitriol and hate, it's like there's always nothing you can do. It's like, well, I guess I just click block, because I can't respond to you in any other way that's not going to receive just absolute hatred back in response.
It's got to come a little bit from you're not playing it the way that I ran it, and you're successful at it, and that's really
right. That might be a thing. Like, not to toot my own trumpet, but I've had success doing this. Sure. That might be something that people dislike. But yeah, so what I'd say to folks in an old generation,
the model is so alien to them that they don't feel like you deserve it, even though obviously.
Yeah. I'm just riding on the coattails of what they laid down. Yeah.
Right.
But what I'd say to older generation players, coming back to the hobby or have been a part of it and understanding or learning about listening to Twitch streaming, it's just come with an open mind. Whether I haven't played since 2nd edition and I'm going back to 5th. Come with an open mind. Things aren't going to be exactly as you remember them. That's the nature of memory and nostalgia. Things change. Things have to change, and change is good. There's a feeling that with some people, and I'm sure it's a very small minority of vocal people that they dislike that more people are getting in. These MMO gamers coming to play our D&D game. That isn't helpful to anyone. It's good that people are playing the game. It's not your game to hoard and just play in the room. It's fantastic. I love seeing groups of different people play. So just have an open mind. Everyone deserves to play the game. Everyone deserves to have as much fun as you have had fun playing the game. So yeah, and it's not to say that all the old people are horrible. There are fantastic members. 99.9% of people that come to me and are like, I haven't played since 2nd edition. I want to learn how to play 5th. I want to learn how to do it nowadays. And they're like excited by how the changes have come along. Well, back in my day we used to do this, but this is fun as well. That's the kind of attitude that I appreciate, and that but if you do feel that way, if you do feel like you've been thrust out by the youth or whatever, and now it's only young hip people that can play, it's not the case. It's not the case. And
there's no limit, right? It's not like you stole my players.
Exactly. Right? Like, it's like,
you found yourself alone in your basement without anybody to play D&D with. It ain't because
exactly. I'm stealing them. Yeah.
They're all sitting there watching.
Exactly. So yeah, as much as I respect the way, and younger generations of players respect the way that you used to play, then, they deserve the same respect as they give you. And a generation, the edition wars are over, It's done. We win there. it's good now,
Yeah.
So happy.
That's a really interesting insight, and one of the things I think I mentioned this to you again on Sunday too, that I had a chance to write in Kobold Press's guides to game mastering, and the specific topic was on advice to old school DMs, or experienced DMs, advice for experienced DMs. And you were the example that I had in mind the whole time I was writing that, because I was like, we now have way more access to watch people play D&D in so many different styles than we ever have, in our lives. And for new players, it's great, because you're like, I have a fellow who's going to be joining our game, and he played one game of D&D so far, and it was at our place on Saturday. And I was like, if you don't have to, you can just come and play, but if you want to see what it looks like, here's a couple of videos to watch, and that's, if you just don't get what D&D looks like, you can get that. But for the experienced DMs too, it's like, whatever way you've been playing for the last 30 years, that's great. If you like it, that's great. Players, that's great. But you might want to try some other things out, and you might want to see how some other people are doing things. And I think, like, when I want people to see what theater of the mind is like, I'm kind of a new, after buying 1,000 maps and a living room full of Dwarven Forge, I'm starting to do more and more theater of the mind because of the flexibility, not just in, mapping and stuff, but in the story. And, finding examples where what theater of the mind looks like online. You could say, well, go watch this game that Chris Perkins did, that's online, because he does it with theater of the mind. He doesn't use the grid at all. And it's worth seeing, and your games. So, so, like, the idea that people would be against that. And I have to imagine that where it's coming from is this like, this feeling of, it would probably a feeling of missing the boat, I don't exactly feel that way myself. I feel a little bit that way, right? Like, because I'm not. I think it's safe to say at this stage of my life, I'm not going to be a professional full-time Twitch D&D. But I'm fascinated by it rather than threatened, right?
Right. Yeah, there's a.
I can talk to you for another hour about this.
Yeah.
But I could. Exactly. I would love to talk more about it, because it's this whole other world that I don't experience and I don't see, and in some ways don't understand. I think there's probably a lot of people who don't understand. When I was talking to my coworkers, and they're like, "What the hell is Twitch?" And I remember telling people, like, back when it happened, I'm like, "Wow, Amazon just spent $4 billion buying a company so that people could watch people play video games." And like, what the hell are you talking about, right? And like, now I say, I know a guy whose full-time job is playing D&D online. That'd be bad. That's awesome. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I love the conversation we had on Sunday, and I love this conversation. I wish you all the best. I'm gonna watch you all the time. And
thanks.
You're a real hero of mine. For somebody that's been able to take an entirely different angle that no one would ever have seen and really run with it is just absolutely fascinating. So
thanks, man.
So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And Alex, thank you very much for guarding over our show, as you always do, and for putting everything together. I really appreciate it. And to all of you that have been watching, and to all of you that are watching on YouTube, and all of you listening on the podcast when it comes out, thank you all as well.
All right, thanks everybody for stopping by. We'll be back streaming tomorrow night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern with Venture Maidens. Don't forget to stop by the website, don'tsplitthepodcast.com. Take care, everybody.